So what we have here is the Pathfinder XD for MIPS. That's the software debugger from Ashland Microsystems that connects to the EJ tag-based debug probe that connects to the target system that's running your MIPS-based Broadcom device. So when you open up the software debugger, it's pretty much an empty screen. On the top, on the bottom side, you do see a remote system console, um, which will come up with whatever the previous configuration setting you had before you shut the debugger down. So one of the first things you want to go ahead and do is you want to go ahead and set a new target configuration for the debugger. So when you click on that screen, you get a couple of options. You can either do a debug using the debug probe, or you could also use a simulator. We're going to go ahead and select the debug using debug probe because we do have a debug probe that's connected on to the software debugger. On the next screen, you'll see that the debugger automatically detects and names out the name of the debug probe, which is called OpenLXD. That's now set up. I'm going to go ahead and click the next button, and that's going to bring me on to the next screen. On the next screen, you'll see that the device that's been selected is the MIPS device, which is the Broadcom MIPS-based CPU. That's the CPU that drives the BMIPS742X device platform. A lot of these other settings you're going to see are default settings that come up when you select the appropriate MIPS device. So you don't have to go ahead and make any changes there. So what we have here now is the Pathfinder XD debugger that's configured to connect to a target device. Before I do that, I'm just going to, since this is already disconnected to an active board, I'm just going to disconnect it for now, and then I'm going to reconnect. So here we go. So right now I'm going to connect to the target board. When you connect to the target board, you see the down here, it shows that it's connecting to the target. And there we go. Now we see on the debug pane window on the top left hand side, you can see the debug status of this device. This is a Broadcom 7420 device, which is a dual threaded device, and hence you see both the cores show up on the debugger. Out here is the source level window, which is empty because we don't have any source level information right now. On the right hand side, you see the disassembly window, which is basically a listing of the actual opcodes that's residing on the target hardware itself. Now, I'm going to go ahead now and download and launch an example program. When you gain access to Ashling's evaluation kit for the Pathfinder XD and Opel XD, it comes along with some suitable example files that you can use to play around and debug an application on a Broadcom device. So I'm going to go ahead now and do the just right that, and I click on download and launch. It comes up with this window, which basically shows the path for this example file. The load options vary depending on what you want to download. For the purposes of this example, I'm going to show you that I'm loading as well as verifying that the program has been downloaded onto the target. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to hit the debug button, and you're now going to see that the debugging window gets a little active. There we go. We see that the file has downloaded and verified successfully. I'm going to click on that, and now you're going to see that the source window is populated with an actual file out here. If I go back to the top left-hand side on the debug pane, what it shows is that the core 0 is basically the one that's running the application, and currently the debugger has halted at the main function. This is the source level information right below the debug pane, and to the right hand side is the associated disassembly source code for this source file. So this is basically an application right now that's been downloaded onto the target board, and now we can do some basic debugging.